claim valuable loot. Bring your guild one step closer to victory. And immortalize yourself and your guild in Conqueror's Hall. Do you have what it takes?
Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Tuesday, the 10th of September, and I am your host, Shozen, and with me today is my co-host, Bogul. How are you doing today, Bogul?
Good morning, good morning. I'm doing quite good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm hanging out here in Torrid Trout. It appears that Arch was able to withstand the onslaught yesterday and hold their territory. Probably was a no-show by June, as I believe June was a little bit preoccupied yesterday with 12 matches against Money Guild alone. So they probably weren't thinking, you know what we need to do? Go bully Arch. Probably more important to hold our own shit.
Wow, okay. I mean, that's a story we've been following for quite a while. And I think maybe tomorrow or on Friday, we will take a deeper look into how this situation has developed and will develop over the future. But what is on today's show?
Oh, well, Bogle, for those who don't know, we've decided to start making each week a little bit more structured. We're doing each day as a specific thing each day of the week now. And yesterday, for those who don't know, was a recap of the past week, so that if you are going to catch one episode a week to get caught up on the news of Albion Online, you can check out Mondays, because we do the whole week's news in one day. But on Tuesdays, Bogle, Tuesday being today, we do Newbie Tuesdays. So you'll see us on Tuesdays giving more tips, tricks, how-tos, deep dives into specific gameplay elements, and generally trying to help people who might need more information on how to get ahead in the game. And today, as the first episode of Newbie Tuesday, we will be starting at the very beginning. The idea of going out there into this world and finding your way. How do you do it? What do you need to do to avoid the pitfalls of failure?
Wow, the pitfalls of failure. That was an introduction. Wow, I can't even. But yes, that's something we have planned for the Tuesday show. And we had been looking around. We've looked at, what's available, what is, maybe what has been changing since we saw some of the materials aimed at newer players being released recently. We did some research, we did some shopping around. And I think over the next few weeks, we will pick a topic for a show and then just try to do that. But also we want to put out the call for, papers, so to say. So if you have something that you think is either worthy to talk about, just, let us know, and we probably will put it on the show. Or maybe if you have a guide for new players, or if you have some information that is particularly useful for new players, send it to us too, and we will gladly showcase it here on this show.
Yeah, we do like to showcase people. That's pretty much what we're here for, to make this better for all of you. That's what we're here for.
All right. So talking about new players, how has your recent experience been? No, kidding. I wanted to ask you actually how long it has been since you did all this new player stuff.
Well, actually, it hasn't been that long, Bogle. When we had free-to-play, I went and I did the new tutorial, and I got myself to T4. Which to me is, once you get to T4, you're no longer really... I mean, at that point, you can just make yourself whatever. You've really just gone through the early process. When Steam came out, I went a bit further, and I tried to see how long it would take me to get premium. But this is when Steam came out, so that's over a year ago, and prices have changed. Prices have changed a lot. So I've done the new player experience probably about 6 times now, all the way through since release. And
Wow.
I know that seems like a lot, because unlike some of our other friends who, when they make an alt, they just take their alt and they get it to Carleon as soon as possible, I was actually getting my alts to T4 and then getting them over to Carleon, and I was actually unlocking all the stuff at T4 so that they could use everything. Because one of the primary tips I learned from Roselia when I first started playing with him was, you're going to want to make sure that you can use whatever. You don't need it to get to the highest level, but when you have a character that you ever plan on using, make sure it can wear any gear that you want to wear. You don't want to find out that, two-handed crossbows are the new thing to play for fun ganking times, and you can't use them because you never leveled a crossbow, and when we all leave out to go gank, you're going to be stuck at home.
But that's for people who need a lot of variety.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, but wait, Chosen, I need high spec in my thing to be effective and do as much damage as possible. Why should I do everything?
See, now that's where I would say the change has come in. From when I started to now, when I look at what to do, I wouldn't suggest doing what I did. I would suggest for a new player to go out there and find something they enjoy, whatever it is they enjoy, and do that. Whether it's gathering, crafting, PvE, or PvP, early on, find a streamlined path to get there and work your way there. And over the last few times I've been doing it, I've been getting a little bit more streamlined in how I do things. Like, I no longer will level everything up. Like, the most recent character I did, I got him to T4, and that was just it. I would suggest more going with a single focus, finding a way to get what you want, and then laser focus doing that one thing until you find that you need a secondary thing. I started this game as a jack of all trades, thinking that's what I wanted to do, because I really like the idea of being able to self-fund myself, being self-sufficient, being the one who can gather my own gear, refine my own materials, and then craft my own stuff. And after, I guess, like, how long have I been playing? 5 years of doing that? I learned that that is the wrong way to do it. Just straight up, it's like, if you're wasting time gathering your third resource, that's time that you could be using gathering your primary resource, and gathering your primary resource is going to make you more money, period. If you make more money, you can then spend that money on things that are more useful to you than what you would eventually get by going jack of all trades. Like, I made a mistake. I mean, yes, I can craft everything that I make. I mean, that I wear on my main with my alt. I can gather everything up to tier 7 on my main. But you know what? I make more on my one tool that's T8 than I will on any of my 7s. Getting one node with T8 will do way more. It's much... You can buy everything. Really, you can buy everything. Like, if you... you and I were talking earlier, and I was looking at some of the mistakes I've made, and we talked specifically about how the difference between gathering and crafting and stuff like that. And I've never been a high tier crafter. I've never put in the resources needed, the gold resources needed to power level my crafting. I've only ever done my crafting with focus for my main weapon and my main armor. And I figured I have a ton of learning points. I can do that. However, I can go and buy my stuff now for almost as cheap as it would be to make it if I don't have focus. Like, if I don't have focus and I'm not using books, it's just cheaper to go buy it. If
that's the whole journey that you just described. Sorry if I jump in here, but I've seen it in chat just now. I've seen it many times before. I've also experienced that with other players. There is this weird idea that you want to be self-sufficient and that you don't want to rely.
I don't want to rely on
other
anybody.
people.
That's like, but
But at the same time, once you've been playing the game for a while and you realize this huge market and all of the things that are fairly readily available, especially at the lowest tiers, especially at that level, then if you're looking at efficiency and if you're looking at saving time, because I feel like that's one of the things that you were sort of concerned with at the beginning, is figuring out how to quote unquote be effective with your time after learning the game, of course. Then you realize, wow, I should do one thing and focus on one thing and become an expert in one thing. But I don't know why, but a lot of people have this thing against that. And can you explain your evolution there, or what changed your mind? Just experience, or talk to other people, or why did you go away from that mindset, and how did that happen?
Because I was spending too much time trying to get ready to go out and fight.
And you just wanted to fight,
and I just wanted to fight.
Faster.
I realized that if I'm gathering, then I'm refining, then I'm crafting. That's going to take me at least 2 characters, unless I want to refine more, which then it takes me a 3rd character to get my focused refining, so that I have enough materials to then go through all my crafting, focus, because I use more than I get focused. It just like crafting takes a lot of materials, and the focus on it for me, because I'm not maxed focused on it, or max level on it. I don't have it all the way, 100 points on it yet. It costs me more materials than I'm going to have from one set of focused refining.
I mean, theoretically,
so
if you use focus on something, then the material cost is the same, right? But in practice, you need longer to get
you have to go log in another character. You have to put all the materials on that character's ox. Lo and behold, you don't overload yourself, so that you take a nice slow walk to the crafter. Don't forget your pie.
I think you're jumping a little bit too far at a point where you already have a second character.
Well, that's the thing, is what I'm trying to say is it takes so much, to do it on one character, and to gather, craft, and refine, and craft on one character is too many learning points and too much focus. It's not going to be efficient. It's just not. So to make it efficient, what I was doing was using more characters. And even when I was making it more efficient, it wasn't efficient because my time wasn't being used efficiently. Because my time was being wasted with all the other little pieces. Like if I just crafted, my time crafting would be much more efficient. If I was what I've started doing now is I'm going to be honest. What I do now is I do solo dungeons. I take my money. I go buy tomes. I'm not
because that's what you want, right?
Because my goal right now is to get to high spec so that I can PvP at a high level and not die right away. I'm using everything I can do to just focus myself. All my time is to get to the point where I can PvP without dying quickly. I'm not trying to make silver. I'm not trying to, level up my gathering. I'm not trying to level up my refining. I'm not trying to do anything else. All I do is I take the silver I make from the solo dungeon that I did, turn it right around to tomes, and I try to fame something that is getting me points while I'm doing my solo dungeon towards what I want to be playing at the end level. Unfortunately, my weapon has to change. My weapon is not efficient for grinding. I'm just...
Wait, what? What? I thought you have...
Well, that's just it. Is I grind differently than I play. And this is fine. For PvE, I find the best thing I can do. Now, everybody's going to have their own favorite PvE builds, right? Everybody's going to have their own and do it their own way. I like to just... my favorite one early is to just go into anywhere where I can get some stags, gather up a ton of stags, use my dual swords and my mercenary.
When is that? Tier 3 still? Or are you T4?
T4. And at T3 you can still do it. It's just that I wouldn't grab 4 and 5 of them at once. You have to kind of do it a little bit slower, but I like them because they are a nice, easy gathering resource that I can unload very quickly, do them in mass, not have to spend my time walking around looking for them, not have to worry about refining this stuff. I just throw it right back up on the auction house and just immediately turn that back into tomes. And I have spent, oh God, somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 million on tomes this week.
That's how long this week? Just from doing solo dungeons?
No, well, no. I unloaded a bunch of my extra resources. I've really tried.
Okay, that you had over the
Yes,
last
I've
2 years.
really
Okay,
tried
okay,
to.
okay.
Like, I spent 2 years trying to be a do everything kind of guy because I wanted to know about everything for all of our players, right? I just wanted to know as much about everything as possible. That's impossible. I can't do it. It's like, with the amount of time that it takes to do everything, right now, I want to be able to buy the next.
But you can't do that
content
for gathering, or you can't do that
No.
for crafting.
No.
I mean, it's interesting that you came to this conclusion over your experience over the last 2 years. And I wanted to touch on a few points that you mentioned. I sort of asked you, what did you do and how did you go about it? And I chose a very different path at the time. I chose the idea that I wanted stone gathering, and I then spent the first month just doing that. And then once I had tier 8, I had an okay sort of money, and then I knew I wanted to go into laborers and crafting, and then I just spent all that stone into making houses, and from that point on, just always making more houses, getting more stone, and eventually going through the crafting route. I never really, I think at that time there wasn't a lot of PvE to do properly, I think. That is, compared to solo dungeons now. So I ended up just focusing on my main, more or less, and not doing that new player experience a while. I'm that person who just likes to stick to that one thing. And I wanted to sort of confirm that idea that once you have this thing you're good at, you're really effective and very efficient with it. But you went a little bit off on a story there, and I still want to know what changed your mind in essence. Just because
I just wasn't
efficiency considerations.
Well, it's like it was
if you had to say it in one word.
Efficiency, time.
Okay.
It's time. I wanted to spend more time PvPing, and the amount of time that it took me to get ready, like to go on to the Blue Army Island and get all my shit together and be ready to go, was too long. Because I make my own food. I make my own potions. I make my own armor and my own weapons. The only thing that I wasn't making myself were my own capes. Because I was buying faction capes, and I don't like to... I'm faction warfare out. I did a lot of faction warfare when it first started. I'm faction warfare out. To me right now, it's a transport quest, and I'm not into that. But right now, I want to get to the point where I can be ready for next season, and being able to be in every ZVZ that I can be, where I'm not on the show. I want to be able to... I want to know the ZVZs well enough that I can, when I see them, I know exactly what's going on. I've been watching the Invasion Days now for 2 years. I've been covering ZVZ action for 2 years. But I feel like if I was better at it myself, I would be better at reporting it. And with territory changes coming up where it's going to be based on ZVZ activities, I want to be able to participate at the highest level and live through it at the highest level. Like I go to the ZVZs now. I was going with Conflict. I was going with Blue Army. But I was always, like the one to die. Like Blue Army could have one death and that would be Shozen. Like,
oh no.
It's rough. So yeah, Pondo, I know I'm always on the show when ZVZs happen, and I'm also working on the show for 3 hours beforehand. So I missed 2 really good ZVZ sections. I'm going to try to go to NA war camps, and I'm going to try to do early morning war camps as well. It's not going to be great, but it's going to be what I can do.
I wanted to touch on another topic, specifically some of the information that is out there for new players right now, because I think that's something we want to look at over the next few weeks, and sort of either showcase and highlight some of these, or maybe comment or update some of what is out there. And we've been doing some searching around, and a bunch of stuff is fairly outdated, and I feel like a bunch of stuff will be fairly outdated with the new patch, and specifically with the new map potentially. A few things are still relevant, and I remember that during free to play I made this little cheat sheet for official resources, but that didn't include a lot of guides. So one go-to that we have for new player information is of course YouTube, and then maybe Lupac as well. But even his videos, some of them, are a year old or 2 years old, and some of these most efficient things have changed. But I wanted to recap of, sort of a TLDR of one of his videos and see if that is still applicable.
Oh, one of I know which Lupac video you're talking about. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The one where he's talking about the pitfalls of a new player. All right, let me pull that one up.
Yeah. I don't want to watch the whole thing. I just want to, summarize it. He basically gives 6 tips what not to do. And one of the first thing that he says is that you shouldn't join the first guild that you get an invite of. And did you ever do that?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yes. When you
Yes. I also I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's such a bad idea to join the first one. Just don't stay in it. Like, there's a difference between joining a guild just for a day to make sure that you have activity, you have something to do when you first get involved in the game, make some acquaintances, and get, just some people to talk to answer your questions. That might be the first guild that invites you. But right now, with the situation where when you quit one, you have, a 48-hour cooldown before joining another one, I would suggest learning a little bit about the guild before you join it. Yes. But join one early. It doesn't matter if it's the first one that invites you. Find one early just so you have the ability to talk to somebody, so that you can get some people to
do stuff
together. And yeah, you don't want to just join one and then find out 45 minutes later that you don't like it, because you're going to have that, that cooldown style.
That this guild has 100% tax.
Right.
That's a potential trap. As well.
Starseed. It's not the end of it's not the end of the world if you end up joining one for 48 hours and it's not the best guild. But if it is one of those ones that has 100% tax, you're going to want to get out of it pretty quick. So it might be best, don't necessarily join the first one that invites you, but don't not join them because they invited you. Ask them questions. Yeah. Learn about what they do. Learn a little bit about them. Make sure that they have a reasonable tax rate. Make sure that they have somebody to play with.
Guild recruitment for us before. Do some research.
But do join a guild in that first day or that first week. Don't wait until you want to do things with other people before joining other people. Make sure you have somebody to talk to, so you're not PMing GMs for very basic questions.
Okay. Second tip of that video is not using LP on everything. I knew what I was going to do, so I used my LP as much as possible. Right. But if you don't quite know yet, I think a reasonable tip is to go to it and unlock it to T4, but then try it out further without LP, right? Because then the tree opens up more. But a lot of people don't realize that the learning points feature exists, and maybe spend it automatically if they click around just a little bit. Just look at what LP does and maybe be a little bit cautious.
For
But
me,
once you do know, use them. I
yeah,
think it's a
you
good
should use them, but you should use them on things that you know you want to keep. And for me, if you're going to ever gather, use it on gathering. Yeah, like Fun Stealer says, he's the first one. He's agreeing with me right off the bat. He's already got it written down before I can even say it. Yeah, use LP for gathering. Like, that's straight up it. That's what you want to use it for. It helps you get to where you need to be for gathering. Gathering without LP, getting to tier 6 or 7 is a nightmare. I have no idea how you could do that without LP. The LP on gathering saves you so much. The amount of fame that you need to get to level 7 is a nightmare. Wow.
Well, I mean, I do agree. It's one of the biggest time savers. But that assumes you want to do gathering.
Right. And if you don't want to do gathering, find that weapon tree that you really want to get good at and get that. Find that armor tree that you really want to do and then do that. But understand that you're nerfing yourself out of potential gathering, because you're not going to be able to get them all in, a week. It takes, you get what, 20 learning points a day, Bogul? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with 400 plus learning points that it costs for some of these, like gathering nodes, that's a while. That's not happening tomorrow. You're gonna have to spend some time. When I did all the tomes, guys, when I was leveling up to be my new tanking thing, I went through 5,000 learning points. You know how long it takes to get yourself 5,000 learning points?
That's all of the learning points you had since release.
No, I still
right?
have 2,000 left.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saving those for?
The next weapon?
No, the next thing I have to level up is for gathering.
Oh.
Because I've only got one all the way up. I got to get all of them all the way up eventually. 250 days to get that 5,000 LP. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I went through that real quick. That was, oh God, now I'm looking at that and go, oh wow. That was a lot of premium.
There are 2-3 more points that I just want to briefly mention that I don't want to discuss too much. One of them's from Lupek's video says carrying your entire bank on you and not keeping backup tool gear or being scared of the black zone. These three I kind of want to put together.
Yeah, well, because they do kind of.
The carrying everything all the time, you have a weight limit, but that should be fairly obvious. If you realize, right, that you slow down. Secondly, not keeping backup gear. That if you have a backup set and if you have, backup options, and if you intentionally create them to make as a backup, you sort of will be less afraid of losing things,
Right.
which is the last part, being scared of the black zone.
Don't be scared.
The risk reward scenario in many cases is very, very good. The only thing that you need to make sure is that you have a fail-safe, right? And that is something that people will be afraid if they don't have a fail-safe, specifically backup gear. But that T4 set, that T5 set is not super expensive, I feel like.
Well, here's the thing. People don't gather in T4 and T5 sets. They tend to try to use the same gathering set that they're going to do, they're gathering for, so they get the bonus. That's the whole point of using it. But if you're going out there to be a ganker, yeah, get yourself out there, get some practice, just go in PvP, lose, get like who was it that was saying get 10 sets and lose? Was that I kind of want to attribute that to Lupak, but I don't think it was. But the idea of going to get 10 sets of gear that you know that you can play with, just make 10 sets, just invest in 10 sets, then go out in PvP until you're out of sets. Just do it until you run out of them. Just learn for the experience. Say, this amount of money is going to teach me this much about ganking, and then go do it. And I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that you can learn a lot by dying. You learn more by dying in this game than you do by staying safe. And if you never take risks and you never die, you're going to be very limited in what you can do. Like, Lupak's thing about never take everything with you. Yeah, once you're past T3, stop carrying so much stuff with you. Get on a light mount. Get on one, like, I used to say a direwolf, but now I will say a Swiftclaw. It's much cheaper. Get on a Swiftclaw, do your gathering, go out there. Don't get overweight. Return it to your chest. Return it to home. Return it to wherever you got to return it to. But go out there, get the shinies, come back. Once you get past T5, you should never be like flat loading again and like gathering everything. You should only be focusing on the shinies. Shouldn't be carrying anything that's going to make you overweight. Escape should be your primary goal when gathering. Like, if it comes down to, is this risky and may I die? Like, because you see something over there that could kill you, don't do it. Run away. Like, don't die while gathering. That's the point. Like, just gather as much as you can, get back to where you got to go, and stay safe. But do that in the black. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I feel like we have to put some more concrete information on this whole newbie thing together over the next few weeks.
We're gonna, yeah. This is there's so many newbie things to talk about that in a half an hour, I feel like we can barely touch a single subject. Today was just a broad overview of get focused. Find something to do and do it. Don't go jack of all trades. Make sure you have premium. Those are today's big tips, right? Focus.
I guess.
Focus.
Yes.
Focus.
Yeah. So again, the call for, if you have good guides, if you have things you want to show here on the show, if you want to send us stuff we can talk about, please do so. We would like to dedicate a day of the week to that new player experience, to that new player learning experience, and getting that information together. But yeah, I think we're out of time for today already. Shozen, you gave us your whole life story. Wow.
I did? Oh my god.
Sort of.
I didn't even tell you guys about the time I owned a magic store.
Wow. All right.
Like Hogwarts.
But yeah. Hogwarts show. Now you threw me off. Now you have to end the show. Now you have to do it.
All right, you can tune in and watch this show Monday through Friday right here at twitch.tv/Albion Online at 18 UTC. And we stick around on Tuesday through Thursday, so you can watch Albion Live, where we do live Crystal Realms at 19 and live GVGs at 20 UTC. But we'll be back in just 2 minutes with the Albion Overtime show, right? Overtime? What do we even call that show? Just AO Overtime? Something about overtime. We're still doing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we'll be back in 2 minutes, and you can check that out. And if you can't check that out, you can check out some of our older stuff at soundcloud.com/AlbionTV or youtube.com/AlbionTV. Anything else you would like to say now that you have recomposed yourself, Bogul?
No, sir. I'm looking for tips and tricks from Twitch chat that we can talk about in a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got lots of tips and tricks. I heard some in chat already, and we will talk about them in the OT segment of the show. But thank you guys for tuning in, and if I don't see you in OT, stay classy, Albion. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Introducing Season 7. Contribute to season points for your guild in new ways by completing guild challenge tasks. Assemble your guildmates to conquer all new castle outposts in the open world. Defeat your rivals to claim valuable loot. Bring your guild one step closer to victory. And immortalize